My favorite question ever, which you're gonna hopefully chuckle at, is, "Hey, Rob, how much does a website cost?"
Yeah, how much does a website cost?
Yeah.
I don't
What do
know.
you say when people ask that?
Well, we always go, I don't know. How much does a car cost?
That's exactly what I say. I always
Right? How
say,
much does a car
yeah.
like,
I always say, "Hey, all of them have 4 wheels and a steering wheel, and hopefully it starts and stops, right? But some cars are free, and some cars cost $1,000,000." And we're back, Rob, episode 159.
159.
159.
159. Yeah.
So we've done 159 of these things, and I have not had a cold for any of these. But if
Wow.
my voice sounds a little raspy, or if I have to hit the dump, I've never needed a dump button, right?
You don't sound
Um,
that
oh,
like you
okay.
just
Well, I'll take that as a positive then, because I
yeah.
feel absolutely horrible. Um, but hey, sometimes you just gotta soldier on. Colds are colds. You know what I mean? Like you just can't. You just kind of soldier through it. It's not like you know, it's not like having the flu, or
No,
having to lay
no,
in
no, no.
bed, no fever, no nothing. Just one of those general blehs, you know what I mean? Like that.
No, I mean, the good
Ugh.
news about a cold is you just hide it with medicine. You just
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
just
yeah,
coat
yeah.
yourself in medicine and just pretend like it's not there.
It does make you wonder, like, we don't have like, we haven't figured this out yet? We haven't figured out the
The cure for
cure.
the common cold?
Yeah, the cure for the common cold? I
No,
mean,
our medicine doesn't do anything to cure the cold.
no, 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 we don't treat the illness, we treat the symptoms is what we do, to your point, right? It's
Yeah.
just we mask
No.
the fevers or the whatever you're feeling,
Well,
right? So
if we cure things, then the drug companies,
yeah.
they're not in the business of curing
How do
things.
they make the money? How do they make
They're
the
in the
money, right?
business of maintenance
I
is what
remember
we
when we
is what
were
we
I
call
mean,
it.
when we were kids, I mean, those commercials on television, for like, what you need to do is feed a cold and all the different remember all the different
Oh, yeah.
methodologies on like, how to sort of take care of your cold and stuff like that. It's pretty funny. So,
Yeah. You need these
um,
8 different medicines.
yeah, I mean, now it's just a blend of like, hey, you got to take ibuprofen here, then you take a little Delsum, then you take a little
Yeah.
NyQuil to go to bed, you take a little Dayquil to wake up. It's just a kind of a rolling cocktail of over the counter Mucinex and all sorts of. I
Yeah.
mean, are they really all that different? I have no idea.
Well,
But
here's what I can tell you. In life, when I would have a cold, I would just, I don't know, I grab a couple Sudafed and then I grab, oh, here's a
yeah,
Dayquil or something. I
yeah, all right, yep,
don't with no thought about,
yeah, 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 yeah.
until I married a pharmacist.
There you go.
Yeah. And
Okay,
so, my wife, a pharmacist by trade,
okay.
um, and
I'm gonna need
boy,
her to
howdy,
send me the battle plan on what I'm supposed to do.
you should see our medicine cabinet. It's not a cabinet, it's more of a medicine pantry, I'm gonna
Yeah,
call it.
yeah, yeah.
And
Amazing.
it's here it is, and
Yeah,
there's a very, she gets irritated with me because, my daughter will have a cold and I'll be like, and my wife will be out of town or something. And I'll be like, yeah, I gave her like, 3 Advil. I did this the other day. I
yeah,
was like, I gave her like 3 Advil and a diclofenac, for her ankle. She sprained her
yeah,
ankle. And my wife's like, you did what?
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, I gave her like, and is she okay? I'm like, yeah, she's fine. I'm like, I think
yeah,
her stomach hurts a little bit. She's like, well,
yeah.
of course it does.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
gave
we're
her
not.
blah, 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 blah. She starts speaking language I don't understand. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
okay. So there's a lot of like, hey, I got a runny nose and whatever. What should I take?
yeah.
And she kicks into pharmacy. She's like, well, you need to
Nice,
take this and
nice.
that and this and that and this and
My
that.
problem is I don't treat anything. I just complain, right?
Oh,
Well,
you
hey,
don't
I
take
don't
the
blah, blah, blah,
drugs
blah,
at
blah,
all.
and then it's, well, hey, did you take this? Did you do that? Did you do any of the
No.
things you're supposed to do? And the answer is no,
Don, you know who does that? You know what that sounds like? That sounds like my children. I'll be like,
Yeah,
here's the medicine. Take this.
I'm
Hey,
horrible.
my ankle hurts. Well, did you take the medicine I told you to take? No.
I'm horrible. Yeah, I wait. I don't treat as I should. I don't stay on it, and then I just immediately crater down at the and then I just bitch and moan and complain because I'm a horrible, horrible sick person, you know? So, yeah, I am far from a perfect I don't even know how we got onto this or whatever
I don't
that, but,
either.
like, my alarm just went off as a reminder to take some ibuprofen, you know? So,
Okay, there you go. There
it's
you
on my
go.
list, so,
There you
but
go.
this too shall pass, you know? This too shall pass. I remember I mean, speaking of brands, though, and sickness, you know, when I was a little guy, little kid in San Francisco, I remember, you know, I'm gonna stay home from school or whatever the deal, you know, too sick to go
Yeah,
to school, whatever
right.
the magic remedy. I can't believe I even remember this. The magic remedy for having a cold and being sick was to have a sip of Coca-Cola, right? To bring this into branding or whatever. It was like every 10 minutes, my mom would let me have like a little sip of Coca-Cola, you know, and I think it was literally just the caffeine of like, you know, call it early 1980, you know, Coca-Cola or whatever like that, that just kind of perked you up and like made you feel better if you were like, you know, 4 years old or 5 years old or whatever. It's like Coke was the magic
I
elixir
don't
to make yourself feel better, like a tonic of some sort, you know?
that was not a thing in these parts.
But that makes no sense because these parts is like the birthplace of Coca-Cola.
Yeah,
But,
that was not
uh,
a thing.
yeah, that was a magic elixir was I got to have a little sip of Coca-Cola. We never had Coke growing up. That was never we never had soda or any of that kind of stuff.
My
So,
parents would just always just give me a glass of bourbon and send me off to school, I'd
yeah, a
just
little
get
hot toddy kind of vibe.
a hot toddy,
Yeah.
get on to school. No,
Yeah.
they did not do that.
Yeah.
Um, alright,
Anyways, all right, we digress. We
we
digress.
digress.
All right, episode 159. What were we going to talk about today? We were going to talk about
Well, we have a lot of I'm interrupting.
no, go
Uh,
for it.
we have a so we did a couple of podcasts ago, we talked about, sometimes when you have to break up with a client, right? We
Oh
talked
yeah.
about that. And it seems like sometimes what happens is when that happens, all of a sudden new opportunities
Yeah,
present themselves, right?
for sure.
And so I think most agencies can relate to it. I don't care if you're big or small or whatever, but the ongoing challenge of new business and business
Absolutely.
development.
Mhm.
And so thought we would talk a little bit about that and the different avenues of business development. I know we've touched on all this before, but
Yeah.
um, it seemed timely because all of a sudden it seems like we have a few, pretty productive irons in the fire.
Yeah.
And just thought it would be interesting to talk about how when one door closes, another one opens.
If you weren't going to say that, I was going to.
And where do we find these doors? Where are
Yeah.
these? How did I get in this
Oh
nutshell?
my how am I trapped in this nutshell?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always interesting in, you know, call it 2026, like how do people find people, right?
Right.
And more specifically, how do companies find companies, right?
Yep.
We have talked about in the past, our business is, you know, to a certain extent, at the end of the line, it's a trust-based business,
Right.
right? Hey, I know Don and Rob are gonna do a great job. I trust them. You know, they're going to execute such and such and the team. I shouldn't say just Don and Rob, but, you know, the agency as a whole, right? Um, but, you know, I could always make the argument, and I know I've said this before in the past, hey, our designs are better than others because of XYZ, and I can break down terminology and methodology and whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, fun to work with. You know, they trust we're going to get it done and this and that, right? But, you know, that it that creates an interesting fork in the road of like, well, that's all well and good if you already know these people, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's one of our new opportunities came from an opportunity from, you know, multiple opportunities ago, right? Hey, you know, not a brand new company, but people that we don't know whatsoever, but they know people that we know, right? So they're asking, hey, who do you trust? Who should we go to? Who do we know? Oh, absolutely call, you know,
Right.
mock the agency, da 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 da, right? So it's interesting. It's like, hey, it's like getting set up for a date with, you know, from a trusted friend, right? It's
Right.
okay. Well, we've already broken down certain barriers, right? Even though we don't know each other whatsoever on a new business call, right?
Yeah.
But there is that common thread of trust from somebody else that introduced you know, us
Yeah.
together, right? In the relationship game. So I think that's, you know, and that's always a great testament to, um, how we work with all of our clients, whether they stay with us for a long time or whether they stay with us for a short time, right? Is, the referral based business game is pretty strong, I guess, you know?
Yeah,
So
I mean, and I think for all agencies, they would say the same thing, meaning
yeah,
the referrals obviously are the lowest hanging fruit in terms of new business,
yeah,
right? Because it comes and finds you.
yeah,
Um, which is great. And then to your point, there's a built-in, okay, they're already qualified to some degree.
mhm,
So the conversation is much easier to start and have.
yeah,
It's just like any other referral and any other kind of business. So those are always ones that I would assume every agency, no matter what, is trying to nurture
sure,
um, all the time. Because hey, if you can get stuff coming to you and you don't have to go to that,
yeah,
it's just great. It's
yeah,
easier. So that's one avenue. The other thing too is and we were talking about this a little bit earlier. As a thinking of practice what you preach, we do a fair amount of SEO work, right,
yeah,
for a bunch of different companies, and we had a few years back we started doing that for ourselves.
yeah,
We thought, "Well, goodness, this makes sense. We should
yeah,
we should do this for ourselves." And so we've been doing that for a while, and that is really proven effective, I would say.
yeah,
But the challenge with that is it's ongoing,
yeah,
and you don't just set it and forget it.
yeah,
And I think a lot of times we get so busy that working on our clients, that we're like, "Oh shoot, wait a minute, we have to do we
yeah.
got to remember to we can't remember to take care of ourselves, right?"
Yeah, this is
Um,
like updating your own portfolio, right? But on a massive scale, right? It's like we're too busy doing all the great work for everybody else that like we always push ourselves to the end of the line, right?
that's right.
Like most agencies do, to be
That's
honest.
right.
So,
But and those come in it's interesting. It's fun in the sense that, you get these emails and you're like, "Oh, it's like fishing," right? It's
yeah,
like, "Oh,
yeah,
is there one on the line here? Like, what do we
yeah,
have? This is
yeah,
interesting." And a lot of them come in and they end up being nothing burgers, of
sure.
course. But we've been fortunate enough to do pretty good in our own SEO efforts and land some pretty good clients that way.
Yeah,
But that's always interesting because it's and maybe this is universal across all new business when you start to work with somebody, is trying to figure out pricing and where they are and budgets
yeah,
and all of that, what level that because we like to work with I would say a variety of clients, right?
for
Both
sure.
big and small.
Yeah,
And big clients have way different budgets than startups, but the startups
absolutely.
can be really fun to work on.
For sure.
So that's a whole different podcast in and of itself, I guess, is pricing your work, but trying to
Yeah,
do that new business because you're setting the precedent, right? You're setting the bar
absolutely.
on job number one. Um, so that's always an interesting exercise to go through.
Yeah, and do you even talk you know, money or budgets or any of that kind of stuff right out of the chute, right on an
Right,
introductory call. You know what I mean?
right, right.
That's always a delicate dance right there. Like,
Yeah,
do we talk about how it works or whatever? We've talked about the concept of charging hourly, like lawyers and things like that, versus charging by scope or project definition, right, and
right.
things like that, right? So I think a lot of times we'll bring that up on some new business calls in terms of like how the function of the process works. Just talk to me about how interfacing with each other works, that type of thing, right? But ooh, dangerous. Do you talk? Do we, you don't want to start talking about numbers on a get to know you
Yeah,
call because you don't really know what anybody needs yet, right? You're kind of
yeah,
just saying, hey, tell me a little bit about you and what you do and what you need, like why we're even having this conversation,
right.
right? Where are your pitfalls, right? And then, hey, let's talk about us, what we do, who we do it for, and then how we do it, right? And then
Yeah,
figure out from there, okay, how do we get the puzzle pieces to work, or how do we onboard? How do we try something? You know what I mean? How do we, let's go out to a cup of coffee here before we get married, type thing.
yeah, yeah.
So
The only time to talk money on the first date is when you're trying to ferret out pretty quickly, is this a legit thing
yeah,
or not? Because there's no faster way to
Mhm. Yeah,
to
yeah,
to figure out if we're gonna
yeah.
party or if we're not gonna party, as we
Yeah,
like
I
to say.
mean, my favorite question ever, which you're gonna hopefully chuckle at, is, "Hey, Rob, how much does a website cost?"
Yeah, how much does a website cost?
Yeah.
I don't
What do
know.
you what do you what do you say when people ask that?
Well, we always go, I don't know. How much does a car cost?
That's exactly what I say. I always
Right?
say,
How much does a car
yeah,
like,
I always say, "Hey, all of them have 4 wheels and a steering wheel, and hopefully it starts and stops, right? But some cars are free, and some cars cost $1,000,000."
That's right.
right? What's the
That's right.
difference between all those you know, like it's and that does tie back into, you know, definition of scope and what the actual needs what the
Right.
needs are. You know, not
Right.
every website is the same. You know, are we building bankofamerica.com, right? Or are we just
Yeah.
building a brochure online? You know, it's a vastly difference, you know. So
And I will say on our behalf, and I consider this kudos to us.
okay. Ooh,
And
that'd be good.
we've mentioned it before, but the idea of RFPs, right? And
Yeah,
RFPs come in many different forms. And I'm not knocking the RFP as a a holistic thing,
sure,
right? It
sure.
comes in different forms, but we have always been pretty stood pretty firm by there have been a few exceptions, but pretty
Yeah,
firm with, "Hey, we don't do any spec work."
yeah,
Like, spec work is not a thing, and I
yeah.
think it's a you know, it I think it's more a dirty word now than it used to be.
Do you
It
think?
used to be yeah, I think so. I think agencies used to do spec work all the time.
Well, I would yeah, I would totally agree with that actually, now that I think like 20 years ago, that was kind of the thing. It was like you would always jam out
Yeah,
spec
you go
work and then
pitch. You're pitching and you're pitching the
yeah,
campaign and you're pitching
and
the
1
thing.
out of every 10 things maybe hits, you know? I mean, there was
Yeah,
even that show on AMC,
the
The
pitch,
Pitch, right? Yeah. Okay.
which was a great show, but it was
Wasn't
only
it?
for advertising people.
I know, well, that's what I was gonna say, like, it was a great show for us because it was really
Great show for
fun.
us. The rest of the world didn't care.
Yeah, well,
No one cared.
they were trying to, you know, ride the coattails of, Mad Men and that whole
Yeah.
deal, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Um, but yeah, there's not so I think, I think the and I'm sure old school pitches still happen every day.
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
but we've always just been stood pretty firm by like, hey, that's our bread and butter. Ideas are
Yeah.
our currency.
Yeah.
We're not going to do those for free in hopes that, and I always think about if we go with analogies, you wouldn't have a carpenter come in and build you cabinets and then
Yeah.
decide if you want to buy them or not.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
just doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way. So we've been and we have at times we'll fill out RFPs and we'll do dude, I would say in terms of actually doing spec work,
Yeah.
very, very few times. I mean, I would
Less
say
than 1 hand, right? Less than 1
less than
hand?
one hand, less than one hand.
I would agree with that. From
Um,
2007 till now, less than 1 hand is how many
yeah, I
times
think
we've
less
done
than
spec
one
work, so
hand.
I would much rather let's do a small teeny little project, you know what I mean? Just get a little g
Yeah,
you know, because not only is it the work, but it is the relationship, right? And it's the interface of how we work with
absolutely,
each other, right?
absolutely.
It's not about, you know, how much money do we make off this project or that, you know, it's the interface of, hey, do they get it? Do we get it? Is it a good fit? You know, that type of
Yeah.
thing. So
If the relationship's no good, the work is not going to be any good. That's just the
totally,
way that it goes.
totally.
Um,
So
so, RFPs, I know that's a lot of, folks traditionally do new business that way. We've been fortunate that we
yeah.
haven't had to
No,
do
we've
a
been,
lot.
you know, good things are happening. Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, one of our clients left, but or you know, is out the door for various reasons, but we've got a lot of good opportunities coming in the door, which is very exciting. So, um, it's a crazy business that we're in, man. We picked a weird industry. Do you know what I mean? Like, um, I don't know. It's like there are a lot of us out there. There are a lot of small, large, medium firms, you know, and you talk about pricing your work and all the different levels and the different you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It is an interesting dance that we do based on value and based on intellectual capital, right? That you mentioned.
yeah.
Like ideas are our currency, right? So um there for something that's kind of on one hand so straightforward, it's also unbelievably nuanced, you know, on the other
Yeah.
hand, right? Which is,
Would
you know,
you agree that um that generally speaking, if the client is legitimate, let's start there, right?
sure.
If the client is qualified and legitimate, on a first call, you can I'd say with
You can tell.
pretty good
Yeah.
accuracy whether
Yeah.
or not you're gonna get the business or not.
100%.
I mean, regardless of pricing, regardless of
Yeah.
I think you can tell pretty much on the first
Yeah.
date, like
Yeah.
Like, is this gonna work or is this not gonna work?
Well, I definitely feel that way. I assume since you're asking the question, you feel that way as well, right?
Yeah, I think absolutely.
Yeah, I think
Um,
the tipping point for me in that exercise actually came from something you said after a meeting we had many, many, many years ago with our old pal Rick, right?
oh, yeah, Rick.
Where we walked out of a meeting with a potential client. We didn't have the business yet, right?
Right.
And they were
Right.
leaving a large agency that they were paying ungodly amounts of money to, right?
Yeah.
And I remember walking out of the parking lot, and maybe it's the prism of time or the filter of time or whatever, but I remember you saying something along the lines of, "We are either going to party like rock stars with these guys, or we are going to crash and burn in a fiery inferno, but we will know immediately if
Yeah.
that's what," you know what I mean? There's no, like, and,
There's no yeah. No,
there's no
I
in between, and I felt pretty good about coming out of that, and that guy was he's a sharp guy. I mean, he knew what
he
he
was
was doing.
great.
Yeah. And we partied like rock stars. It was amazing,
Yeah, it was great.
And so, but since then, yeah, there is definitely a vibe check, um, almost immediately. The nuance of being able to read the room, you know what I mean? Even if the
Yeah,
room is online nowadays, you know what I
that's
mean?
right.
Like you can just tell, like, hey, if we can make the puzzle pieces work, how it's going to work, And then it's about the people that aren't on the call that are decision makers, right?
Yeah.
Finance or whatever the case may be. So
Well, I think it's also, once we have that initial call, and if the vibe check is good
yeah,
and we feel good about it from our end, then when we move to the pricing exercise, we will be a little bit more flexible on pricing because it seems like a
yeah,
great project and a good
yeah,
person to work with, or you know what I mean?
yeah,
Those calls, those first calls often define pricing in a way,
yeah.
right? To some degree.
Agreed.
Because we've absolutely, let's be honest here. We've absolutely been like, this one sounds really, really difficult. We're gonna price this one a little higher because if we're
Rob,
gonna
we're
work,
putting this on the internet. Do you want this out there? I mean,
I'm
yeah.
totally fine with that. Yeah. You'd be foolish to think otherwise.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Is that the pain in the ass factor? Is that what's
that's the pain
happening?
in the ass. This one's gonna be a real pain in the butt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We better
It's
make
I
it
don't know.
worth
Well,
it.
have we ever had the, like, "Oh, man, I don't wanna do this. Let's price ourselves out of it," and then gotten the project? That hasn't I feel like that hasn't happened in a
I
while.
don't know that that's not, it's never really happened like that.
Yeah. I
No,
I don't know that I've ever been like, "Oh god, we have to do the work now." You know what I mean? Like, I don't,
no.
um,
I
so
think if anything,
kinda
like
funny to think about
if
that.
it's that visceral of a negative reaction,
Yeah.
like I think we're like, you know what? I don't think we're the right fit.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
think we're the right fit. Wish
Yeah,
you the
and
best
we've
of
done
luck.
that
And
before in the past too, but where it's like, "Hey,
yeah,
let's just this is not
this
gonna,"
is
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
No,
we're gonna
agreed.
swipe left.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Swipe left
exactly.
on this one.
So, yeah, I mean, hey, this is how the sausage is made, right?
That's right.
This or how you even get to making the sausage, right? I mean, this
Yeah.
isn't even how the sausage is made. This is like you gotta just get the raw materials through the door, right?
Yeah, and this is us small guys who don't have the luxury of a full-time, business development.
Sure, sure. Yeah, 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 yeah. We're too busy
Course,
doing the
but it's
work.
fun. It's like fishing. I love that part of it, and it feels really good when you connect with a new client.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's
Yeah.
part of, our methodology of, still interacting with the creatives that are working on your business, right?
Yeah.
That's what we both enjoy the most is meeting and learning about this crazy little part of the world
Right.
and then trying to figure out how to help those people solve their communication or strategic needs, right?
Right.
That's what's so much fun about the whole thing. It's like, whoa, like, what in the world? This crazy little device or this crazy,
Yeah.
service that people do and things like that, right? And then learning about that business and learning the people that invented that or whatever, it's just fun stuff. So it's
Well, like we said, we've got a couple of interesting opportunities in the hopper, and hopefully on the next podcast or 2,
yeah.
we'll be able to
Yeah.
positively disclose
Sure,
some of
sure.
those
Or
numbers,
we'll just never mention it again and it'll
or we'll
just go
never
under the
talk about it
yeah.
ever
Yeah,
again.
exactly. So,
That's right.
all right, well, let's wrap it up for today. I think speaking of, we're up against it and we've got calls we've got to do,
We've got
right?
client calls. We've got
Yeah.
valued client calls.
Business continues. So,
Business continues.
all
Where can the
right.
people find us, Don?
People can find us online at mocktheagency.com,
Now
right?
I just beat you to it. I just beat you to the question.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
and, fill out that contact form and tell us, that you love us, you know?
That's right.
So,
How
yeah.
can we help you?
And we will write you back, and it's gonna be amazing.
It'll be
And then
awesome.
maybe you will have the enjoyment of a discovery call, you know, and,
That's right.
all of the fun involved in those calls. So,
That's right.
yeah.
All right, very good.
Alright.
Well, we will
Yeah.
see,
We'll see you next time.
next time for 160. It's gonna be
Alright.
amazing.
Peace out.